in the small town of San Antonio, Texas, rumors had been swirling about a mysterious creature that had been attacking and killing livestock on the outskirts of town. Some people said it was a pack of wild dogs, while others insisted that it was something far more sinister. And then, one moonlit night, a local rancher saw the creature with his own eyes. It was a strange and fearsome sight. The creature was about the size of a small dog, but its body was covered in dark, matted hair, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity. Its jaws were lined with razor-sharp teeth, and its claws were long and curved like the talons of a bird of prey. The rancher was so frightened that he ran back to town and reported what he had seen to the authorities. At first, the local police dismissed the rancher's account as a wild exaggeration, but then other ranchers began reporting similar sightings, and the evidence started to mount. Livestock was being found dead and mutilated, their bodies drained of blood, and some eyewitnesses claimed to have seen the creature prowling through the fields, searching for its next victim. Word of the creature spread quickly, and soon it had a name, the Chupacabra. The name roughly translates to goat sucker in Spanish, and it was believed to have originated in Puerto Rico, where similar sightings had been reported. But now, it seemed that the Chupacabra had made its way to Texas, and people were terrified. As the Chupacabra sightings continued, theories about the creature's origins and motivations began to emerge. Some people believed that it was an escaped government experiment, while others claimed that it was a supernatural entity, summoned from another realm to wreak havoc on the mortal world. And still others believed that it was simply a previously unknown species of animal, adapted to thrive in the harsh desert environment of the American Southwest. For months, the Chupacabra terrorized the residents of San Antonio and the surrounding area, and the authorities seemed powerless to stop it. Traps were set, but the creature was too clever to be caught. Hunters were called in, but the Chupacabra was too elusive to be tracked. And all the while, more and more livestock fell victim to its vicious attacks. Then, one night, a group of teenagers decided to take matters into their own hands. Armed with flashlights and a camera, they ventured out into the fields in search of the Chupacabra. At first, they saw nothing but the shadows of the night, and they began to think that they had made a mistake. But then, they heard a rustling in the bushes, and they turned their cameras in that direction. What they saw would change their lives forever. There, emerging from the underbrush, was the Chupacabra. Its eyes glowed in the darkness, and its hair bristled with menace. It was a truly terrifying sight, and the teenagers were frozen in fear. But then, something unexpected happened. The Chupacabra simply turned and walked away, disappearing into the night as if it had never been there. The teenagers were shaken, but also exhilarated. They had seen the Chupacabra, and they had lived to tell the tale. Over time, the sightings of the Chupacabra became less frequent, and the creature began to fade from the public imagination. But for those who had seen it, the memory of the Chupacabra would always linger. It was a creature of fear and mystery, a symbol of the unknown and the unexplainable. And even now, years later, people still wonder if the Chupacabra might one day return, and whether the truth about its origins and motivations will ever be uncovered. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, there have been many theories about the Chupacabra's origins. Some believe that it is a mutant or genetically engineered creature created by a government or military program gone wrong. Others think it is an extraterrestrial or interdimensional being brought to Earth by unknown means. Still, others believe that the chupacabra is a natural creature, evolved to thrive in the harsh desert environment of the American Southwest. They point to reports of similar creatures from other parts of the world, such as the legendary El Chupacabra of Puerto Rico and the vampire beast of Bladenboro in North Carolina. In recent years, a number of scientists have attempted to study the chupacabra and determine its true nature. Some have suggested that it may be a type of coyote or dog with a genetic disorder that causes it to lose its hair and develop sharp teeth and claws. Others believe that it may be a previously undiscovered species of animal, similar to a hyena or a jackal. Despite these attempts, however, the true nature of the chupacabra remains a mystery. It is a creature of legend and folklore, a symbol of the unknown and the unexplainable. And whether it is a product of human invention or a natural phenomenon, it will always be a source of fear and fascination for those who encounter it. For the residents of San Antonio and the surrounding area, the chupacabra will always be a part of their history. It was a time of fear and uncertainty, but also of courage and resilience. The people of the town came together to face a common threat, and in doing so, they learned that they were stronger than they ever knew. And while the chupacabra may never be seen again, its legend will live on. For as long as there are things that cannot be explained, there will always be stories of creatures like the chupacabra, haunting the edges of our imagination and reminding us of the vast and mysterious world that lies just beyond our understanding. Story 2. The Honey Island Swamp Monster. Deep in the heart of the Louisiana Bayou, there lurks a creature that has fascinated and frightened locals for generations. Known as the Honey Island Swamp Monster, this mysterious and elusive creature is said to roam the swamps and forests of the area, leaving behind a trail of terror and intrigue. The legend of the Honey Island Swamp Monster dates back to the early 20th century. According to local lore, the creature was first spotted in the 1960s by a group of hunters who were exploring the area. They claimed to have seen a strange, ape-like creature that stood nearly 7 feet tall, covered in matted fur and with bright, glowing eyes. At first, many dismissed the hunters' claims as mere exaggeration or fabrication. But over the years, more and more sightings of the Honey Island Swamp Monster were reported, and its legend grew. Some people claimed to have seen the creature sneaking through the swamps in search of food or shelter, while others reported hearing its haunting cries echoing through the trees at night. Still others claimed to have found strange, giant footprints in the mud or caught glimpses of the creature's massive form moving through the underbrush. Despite the many sightings and reports, however, no one has ever been able to capture or even photograph the Honey Island Swamp Monster. Some have tried setting traps or using motion-activated cameras to try to catch a glimpse of the creature, but to no avail. The mystery of the Honey Island Swamp Monster has captured the imaginations of people all over the world. Some believe it to be a previously undiscovered species of primate, while others think it may be a long-lost relative of the legendary Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Still, others believe that the creature is a product of local lore and superstition, a figment of the imagination that has grown more and more fantastical with each retelling. But for the people who live in and around the Honey Island swamp, the creature is very real. They know that there is something out there, lurking in the shadows and waiting to be discovered. One of those people is a young woman named Amelia, who has lived in the area her whole life. As a child, she heard stories about the Honey Island swamp monster from her parents and grandparents, and they filled her with a sense of wonder and terror. As she grew older, Amelia became more and more intrigued by the creature. She began to read everything she could find about the Honey Island swamp monster, poring over old newspaper articles and books about local legends and folklore. Eventually, Amelia decided that she wanted to see the creature for herself. She began to explore the swamps and forests around her home, looking for any signs of the Honey Island swamp monster. At first, she found nothing. The swamps were quiet and still. The only sounds the chirping of crickets and the occasional splash of a fish in the water. But as she continued her search, Amelia began to notice strange things. A pile of broken branches and twigs, as if something large had passed through. A footprint in the mud, too big to be human or animal. And then one day, as she was walking through the swamp, she heard a sound that made her blood run cold. It was a low, guttural growl coming from somewhere deep in the trees ahead. Amelia froze, her heart racing in her chest. She knew that she should turn and run, but something inside her made her want to stay and see what was making the noise. She crept forward, her eyes scanning the trees for any sign of movement. And then, suddenly, she saw it. There, standing in a clearing ahead of her, was the Honey Island swamp monster. It was even more terrifying than she had ever imagined. The creature stood nearly 7 feet tall, its massive body covered in matted fur that looked as if it had never been washed or groomed. Its eyes glowed in the dim light, and its sharp teeth were bared in a menacing snarl. Amelia stood frozen, unsure of what to do. The Honey Island swamp monster looked straight at her, its gaze unblinking. For what felt like hours, the two of them simply stared at each other. And then, suddenly, the creature turned and began to lumber away, disappearing into the shadows of the swamp. Amelia knew that she had just had an encounter with one of the most mysterious and elusive creatures in the world. She felt a rush of excitement and fear, knowing that she had just become one of the few people to have ever seen the Honey Island swamp monster up close. Over the next few weeks, Amelia continued to search for the creature, hoping to get another glimpse of it. She began to leave out food and other offerings, hoping to lure the creature out of hiding. And then one day it happened. Amelia was out in the swamp, checking one of her traps, when she heard a rustling in the bushes nearby. She froze, not wanting to scare off the creature if it was the Honey Island swamp monster. But then, suddenly, the creature appeared. It walked right up to Amelia, its eyes fixed on her. It didn't look as aggressive or as terrifying as it had the first time Amelia had seen it. In fact, it seemed almost curious. Amelia took a step forward, and the creature didn't move. She could see its breath in the cold air, and she felt a strange sense of connection to the creature, as if it recognized her or was somehow aware of her presence. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, The Honey Island swamp monster turned and walked away, disappearing into the swamp once again. Amelia knew that she had just had an experience that she would never forget. She had seen the Honey Island swamp monster not once, but twice, and she knew that she was one of the few people in the world to have ever done so. As she walked back to her home, Amelia couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the swamp was hiding. She knew that there were other mysterious creatures out there, waiting to be discovered and explored, and she knew that she was brave enough to face them, no matter how terrifying or awe-inspiring they might be, because for Amelia, the thrill of discovery and the unknown was worth any risk or danger. And who knows what other mysteries the Honey Island swamp might be hiding.